Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Newtown Township Board of Supervisors meeting for March 24th, 2021 via Zoom. Before our moment of silence, I would just ask that we all remember the following. All those who have been affected by this horrible virus and their families, and those on the front lines, the doctors, nurses, EMTs, police, fire, and all those who answer their call to duty unselfishly. Those everyday important essential workers, the garbage collectors, the supermarket workers, the food servers, just to name a few. And here in our township, our management and our administrative staff, the Public Works Department, together, they keep our township running. Let us support our local businesses the best we can, and please don't forget to tip generously. Most of all, treat people with respect and kindness. Even if you don't agree with them, remember they're still Newtown Township citizens. Together, our community will be stronger when this is all over. If we could just bow our heads for a few seconds. And if we recite the Pledge of Allegiance with the board. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Lewis, any changes or additions to the agenda tonight?
There are no changes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, there's no special actions. So we'll go into our first session of public comment. Anyone who'd like to make a public comment on anything that is not on the agenda tonight, please feel free to do so. Just raise your hands and I will call on you. Okay, seeing none, I guess there's no minor approvals or public hearing, and we'll go right into reports of committees, boards, and commissions. And I see Mr. Fiddler here for the Planning Commission. Alan? You're on mute, Alan. Just unmute yourself.
Thank you, Phil. I'm here to give you a quick synopsis of our February 16, 2021 meeting. We had a zoning hearing board application from John and Jennifer Perna at 57 Richborough Road here in Newtown. Mr. Perna was in attendance to review his application for a variance for impervious surface release of 22.2% for a roof over a 15 by 32 foot dry laid bluestone patio. The permitted impervious is 15% or 13%, and a prior variance brought it up to 19.7% when an addition was built on the home in 2019. He mistakenly believed that either his prior variance included the patio. A special exemption is also required as this is a non-conforming lot. The commission recommended that Mr. Perna inquire at the township as to whether his application should be amended to include the patio in addition to the roof. And I believe that the response from the township was that the roof and the patio can be included as both are impervious and not increasing the original request. Moving on to the JMZO or amendment in the definition of the family. This amendment has already been reviewed by the Planning Commission, which suggested that adding a footnote clarifying the amendment is designed not to judge lifestyles, but rather to control short-term rentals and transient situations. This footnote has been added to the amendment. We did move to recommend that the board adopt the definition of family amendment to the JMZO, and it was passed 9-0. Under old and new business, I reported to the members that the Board of Supervisors has assigned The Planning Commission to review current and permitted uses in the LI and OLI zoning districts with an aim of possibly adding some new uses in order to bring additional revenue and revitalize the commons. Ms. Fountain is prepared to lead the discussion on April 6th meeting. And that concludes my report. And before I sign off, if any of the board members would care to zoom in to the Planning Commission meeting with Michelle's presentation, it may give you further insight as to the direction and focus that, you know, ultimately may come out of the process. So that concludes my report.
Any questions for Alan?
I had a quick one. Was this really the February 16th or was it March 16th?
Well, my synopsis said February 16th, and that's what I prepared for you, but it was our March meeting.
Great, thank you.
Alan, just a quick question. Has
Yeah.
there been a rash of transient situations within the jointure
Not that
that you know of, or?
not that's been reported back to the Joint Zoning Council. As I recall, Jerry has been in attendance at most of those meetings, but I almost think that it's a preemptive measure supposedly coming from our jointure partners. But, you know, I'm not privy to any particular aspect of complaints that has hit either of those townships.
So they're anticipating transients to start hitting the jointure any day now. Kind of like the group of people that were coming across Mexico border at one time. So I guess they're going to be coming to the jointure area. That's what they're afraid of. Okay.
Well,
You don't have
last-
to answer. You don't have to answer that question. I just,
I won't.
but yeah.
they're
Yeah.
coming across the upper Makefield border because that's where this, I think, originated. There was a house owned by probably a New Yorker who didn't live there, and he would rent it out to many different people through Airbnb. And so there was an incident that I heard of at the JZC.
Okay. So freedom to do what you want with your home is out the window. If you have $1 million home, it doesn't matter. But that's just my. This is not for discussion. That's just my remark. Alan, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good evening, gentlemen.
You
and
too.
ladies.
Good seeing you, Alan.
Take care.
Board members reports. I'll go right to Mr. Fisher.
Thank you. I'm a little distracted. I have the cat here on the couch with me. If she appears in the screen, you'll know why. I have two things to report on. The first one is a meeting that Mr. Mack and Chief Forsyth and I attended with Newtown Borough. There actually have been a couple of meetings. We've exchanged proposals for monetary assistance from the borough for the Newtown Township Emergency Services. We've had a couple of meetings. We've exchanged proposals, as I said. We're pretty far apart, so we're going to keep after it. And we do have some solace in the fact that they have said that they want to contribute to the emergency services. So that's number one. And number two is the Finance Committee met last evening, and we had a very good discussion, fruitful and enlightening, I would say informative, with Teresa Halper, who's the Finance Director for the township. She walked us through the Treasurer's Report, and she also, which is a 70-page document, and she walked us through the process and the schedule of developing the budget over the course of the year. So the committee was very thankful for that and invited her back as often as she feels she can do that. And we also had a short discussion of the American Recovery Plan. So with that said, that's my report.
Thank you, Dennis.
Mhm.
Mr. Solicitor, I have a question for you in regards to the fire services agreement. These talks have been going on since the mid of last year, hoping that we would come up with a solution by the beginning of this year. So far, January, February, and now March are going to go by, and there has been no solution to this issue. Is there a way in the agreement that we could backdate the costs and, initiate the charges from January of 2021?
Yeah, I mean, before it's signed, you guys can, if that's the way, what you want to do, and that's the way you feel about it, let's put that in the agreement, and that'll be part of the negotiation.
Okay. I mean, for one, I just see the stall tactic, just getting, another free month of service, and it just keeps going on and on and on. I think a solution has to, we have to maybe force a solution here, and maybe that's one of the ways we can. We're not asking for anything out of the ordinary. We just want to be fairly compensated, and so far, their idea of fairly compensated is zero. So,
Agreed.
if the other board members agree, then fine. If not, then I guess we'll proceed with how we're going about this. So,
You won't get an argument from me, Mr. Calabro.
thank you, Dennis.
I think that's fine too, Mr. Chairman. This is going on way too long, so we need to move forward with something, some sort of action.
Kyle, anything?
That sounds fine.
John?
I guess I'm okay with that, but is it just a little bit early? I mean, we're making some progress. I don't want to side rail it, but if a majority would like that, that's fine.
Okay. And I'll turn to you for your report.
Okay. I was at the Finance Committee. I was very impressed with Terry Halper. She answered all my questions, and I was impressed by her dedication to her job. She mentioned lots of times when she went above and beyond what she was expected to do. And as she said, she's a resident of Newtown, and that gives her, the impetus to go above and beyond. So I think it's great that when we hire people from Newtown, we get really good people at the job. So I appreciated her comments. I did meet with representatives of the Council Rock School Board and discussed a little bit about the use of facilities by the township, and they related that they do provide free facilities to the Parks and Rec Board, and I spoke to Mr. Lewis about this. In return, the township provides some relief from special fees that they might have to pay for new buildings. Is that correct, Mr. Lewis? I don't know if I'm expressing that correctly.
Yeah, the township waives the fee in lieu of park and rec contributions as any part of any land development.
Right. So they did say about they do rent spaces at a very nominal fee to sports clubs, for example. The rates were not even really competitive, much below what other facilities might be charging. They may adjust that. We really didn't get into any specifics about providing free weightlifting equipment to senior citizens and that sort of thing. Obviously, there's a need to provide custodial service, keep the building open, and so forth. So they have to hire people to do that. They are working on a audit for diversity. They're working with the Delaware Valley Consortium for Equity and Excellence. which is an organization affiliated with University of Pennsylvania Graduate School of Education, and they're going to do some diversity audit and teacher training, and there'll be more details about that later. As far as the Human Relations Commission is concerned, I know that they will be in contact with Mr. Lewis regarding, and maybe Mr. Sander regarding the memorandum of understanding with the PA Human Relations Commission about how to divvy up any complaints that are received. So they were going to look and make sure that that memorandum is up to date. And if not, they would get a new one to submit to Mr. Sander. I think, Dave, you were going to review that for them?
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah, I have looked at it. It's something I'm batting back and forth between my firm members to see what, if anything, our other clients have done with that. I'm leaning toward recommending it, and the reason is because we want to make sure that a complainant knows that they may also have to file a claim with the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, as well as the Newtown Township Human Relations Commission, in order to preserve the right to appeal to court. And I just want to make sure that that we don't shut anybody out from appealing an adverse decision. So chances are I'm going to recommend that, but I should have something on that shortly. We may also need to get permission from the local agency department of the state to approve an intergovernmental agreement between the township and the state. So I'm looking into that as well.
Okay. Well, they'll go through Mr. Lewis, I assume, and work that all out. The Environmental Advisory Committee had a successful webinar regarding birds on the brink, climate change impact on bird species. And that was held on Saturday, March 20th. Over 100 people were interested enough to click on the registration link. 34 people registered and 28 people actually attended. So those are just some of the numbers. And the last item, I believe I discussed this with Mr. Lewis about the Technology and Communications Committee. I also talked to Mr. Fisher about this. There are currently 4 people who have been appointed or who are continuing to be on that committee. And I just wanted to confirm that letters to the newly appointed members were sent out. Is that correct, Mr. Lewis? That notifying them that they were appointed to the committee?
Yes, they were notified.
And if so, I mean, I noticed that there's a scheduled meeting for the 30th of this month, and I'd like to make sure that we can have that meeting if the 4 people show up. I know there's room for 7 on this committee, but 4 should be adequate to carry on an official meeting. Again, I think I confirmed that with Mr. Lewis, correct?
Yeah, 4 would constitute a quorum.
Okay, great. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have community outreach items. The Newtown Rotary and the Newtown Next Gen Rotary Clubs are collecting a family service drop box. The Family Service Association operates a homeless shelter in Levittown, and we're partnering with them to collect the following items: blankets, towels, washcloths, and socks. The drive ends this Friday, the 26th. If you need information, you can find it on the web, or you can email me directly. I'll give you information on where to drop that stuff off. It's been going pretty well so far. We've got a lot of monetary donations, and I think I heard today we have 800 pairs of socks or something. So apparently there's things that people that come through the shelter need, blankets, towels, and socks and stuff like that. Things that get overlooked generally by people donating things. Next, we have the Wrightstown Food Cupboard put out an alert. They collect food year round for those in need in our community. And currently there's a shortage of coffee apparently. So this is something, I mean, of course, they'll take any donations of food, but coffee is on the list, the high list this week. Also, the Wrightstown Farmers Market's open on weekends. You can look for that up by the Wrightstown Township building. Regarding Park and Rec, some upcoming programs. We have the Chess Club, Saturday morning art series, action karate, learning to draw and sketch, and Asian cuisine. And again, pre-registration is required, and you can do that at newtownfund.com. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Davis, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Some of these are courses that are offered in the building, the township building.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether all those are held, but usually I think they're in the township building.
And this goes on a monthly basis. I mean, can people still register and attend some of these, or?
Yeah, go on to the website, newtownfund.com. You can see everything that's going on or upcoming, and it's all up on there.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, Mr. Oxley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. EDC had a meeting last Thursday where we had two guests. One was Margie McKevitt from Bucks County, where obviously the county, but Chief Operating Officer there, and she's discussing the funds that the county will be getting from the federal government, $122 million, and how that will trickle down. Not sure yet because legislation hasn't been completely put together, but that was some of the discussion. Also some CARES money that was still available, and different programs that they utilize for some of the CARES money, and also the new money coming down. So maybe some opportunity for mortgage assistance and rent assistance for folks that having difficulty in this time. So I was really encouraged by that. That's great. If we can actually, when that comes down, I'd love to get a link to that on our website. So if there's any residents that have challenges with that, they can click on that link, get straight to the county, and they can get some assistance and figure out how that works. But I was really encouraged to hear about that. But for our second guest, Jennifer Maher from Penn, 1776 Philadelphia, which runs Penn, which is an incubator style facility in Philadelphia, basically discussing how that came about and different ways they're encouraging startups, businesses in that ecosystem so that they can cultivate those businesses and get them growing, and then to be able to kind of stand on their own, and how they developed that in Philadelphia, and then also different cities that they're looking to put that into, but also looking maybe potentially for a suburban area to put an incubator style like that, where a lot of startup companies can get into that incubator space and get coaching and development through their program. And Newtown might be a destination for something like that if it fits, but some more conversations around that with her and her team. But they do have a style like that in Brewerytown as well in Philadelphia. And Matt Peters and I are planning to go visit how they're doing it down there and see how we can kind of figure out a way to develop it if there's an opportunity here in Newtown for those smaller life science biotech companies that might be starting out. So that is all I have as a report, but I did want to make a comment. You know, I would be remiss if I didn't say that it is, it's always going to be something going on in this world, but you know, with all the shootings going on in, you know, Colorado, and then unfortunate situations in Atlanta, and you know, everything we have in our daily lives, I just wanted to just send a good note saying, hey, like, you know, keep everyone's chin up, keep smiling, you know, give a good word to each other in these moments, because sometimes a good word can go a long way, a nice gesture as well, because sometimes this stuff can get really, really dark, and you know, some people might need a little helping hand every now and then. So that's my comment, my report, but thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kamath, I do see your hand up. A public comment will be in a little while after we're done discussing other things here. Let's move on to land development, of which we have none. Reports of officials. Engineer has nothing on the agenda. That's why she's not here. So we'll go right to the solicitor's report. Mr.
Thank you,
Sanders.
Mr. Chairman. First item on our report this evening is a consideration of a resolution to accept the right-of-way of Swamp Road as part of the Luke Oil Lukoil development project over there. We have received an executed deed of dedication from Lukoil for the right-of-way of Swamp Road. The legal description and plan have been approved by the township engineer, and it would be appropriate to consider a motion to adopt the resolution accepting the right-of-way of Swamp Road.
Okay, do I have such a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? I'll second it. Dave, where is this right away exactly?
As far as I know, it is right along Lukoil's frontage on Swamp. Lukoil, of course, is at the corner of Swamp and Sycamore.
Right.
And this is the Swamp Road portion of the Lukoil frontage that they're dedicating.
So it's, well, not the, is it the frontage or it's the side?
Well,
It's-
sidage.
Yeah.
They have double frontage, so
Yeah,
it's
there's a,
quote-unquote
isn't there
frontage.
like some sort of makeshift little roadway there now or so, or there used to be, like it looks
Yeah,
like.
there's a
like,
driveway out to,
okay.
that you can exit Lukoil out onto Swamp Road.
Okay, and that's
Yep.
where this is proposed to be then.
So I have a question. Why is this coming up now rather than, I don't know how many years ago, Lukoil or the place was built?
I don't think everything was complete, Kyle. I
Mm.
don't think, somebody found that this was not done
Got
and
it.
we wanted to make sure it got done. I don't know if Mr. Lewis knows any more than that about it, but that's what I understand.
No, it was on CKS's punch list for their final release of their escrow. And to do that, they need to get this done.
Now, another question is, will this be a full-fledged access? Because I think at one time, when someone was going to put a pizzeria there, they wanted to access it and purchase that easement, I guess, off of Lukoil. Now, one of the issues would be that driveway would only be within maybe, I don't know, 50 feet of the intersection. You'd be causing kind of like a backup if people were wanting to get in there. Is this going to be used for access, or is it, they just want this for some particular reason?
No, there's no change to the existing conditions out there. What you see right now is the way it's going to stay. This was a project, as Micah mentioned, that was done a number of years ago, and we've been holding their financial security. And before releasing it, this was a housekeeping issue to dedicate the right-of-way along Swamp Road. There's no change is contemplated out there.
But
No one's
by-
going to use a
but-
separate driveway or establish a new intersection 50 feet in from Sycamore Street.
Well, but by approving the right of way, how can we limit them from not using it?
Oh, we can't. I mean, it's
Well, okay, so.
it's
so
their
you're not-
their
you're not
driveway. That's the
assuring-
way
you're
it's
not
been for
assuring me that
years.
it's not going to be used. So I mean, it can be, they could use it, we pass it tonight, they could use it tomorrow. I mean.
It doesn't matter what we pass tonight or tomorrow. They can use it pursuant to the original plan of development for that Lukoil. It's been there for years.
Then why
Used
are
to
we
be-
doing this if they had the right to do this all along?
Well, they're dedicating the right of way of Swamp Road to the township so that that portion of Swamp Road, we can get liquid fuels money for that portion of Swamp Road.
They
This is-
don't own Swamp Road.
No, they own whatever the
Right away.
portion of right of way is along Swamp Road that extends into their property, whatever the legal right of way of Swamp Road is there. I mean, we do this with every development. Take the one across the street.
Well, this is not a development, Dave.
Well, it was a
Well,
project, it was
what's
a
the-
development
what's the,
project.
What's the length of this,
I
this
don't
right?
know offhand. I don't have,
I mean, what are we losing? Hundreds of thousands of dollars in liquid fuels?
No, it's about 300 feet.
Okay. Which amounts to how much?
It's from, if you can picture out there, it's from essentially the curb line into the properties, approximately 14 feet.
Okay.
So it's that strip of land that parallels Swamp Road.
Any other questions?
But just to be clear, everything is already there. There's no changes to anything, correct?
Correct.
But the only change could be that they could use it, but you're telling me they could use it anyway.
I don't think, yeah, I don't think this has to do with the use of that portion of Swamp Road there. The
Okay.
development is there. The driveway out onto Swamp Road already exists and is used. This won't change that ability. This is, when they filed their plan, the plan showed that the right-of-way of Swamp Road along their Swamp Road frontage as, quote, to be dedicated to Newtown Township. And that plan was approved. The engineer had pointed out that they did not have record of that being dedicated to the township, and that's what this accomplishes.
Okay.
This basically let us put a sidewalk in there if we so chose.
Yeah, it's our right-of-way that if
All
we
right,
need
got
to
it.
put utilities in there, if we need
Okay.
to, Yeah.
Right, or widening the road or any other improvement that we would want to.
Okay, thanks.
It's just a cleanup
Got it.
item.
Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion and a second. No further questions from the board. Any questions from the public on this motion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Let's get our sidewalks in there.
let's get our sidewalks in there.
Yeah.
Second item on our report is the zoning hearing board application that Mr. Fiddler mentioned. This is a residential application to increase the impervious surface ratio from 19.7% to 22.2% by putting a cover, a roof over an existing patio at 57 Richborough Road. And the question, as usual, for our zoning hearing board applications is, does the Board of Supervisors wish to take a position on this application?
Any position?
A position, yeah, in favor of, against, send the solicitor to oppose, et cetera.
Well, from the silence, I would assume that we're looking for the zoning hearing board to make this decision.
I will accept that outcome and advise that that completes our report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General fund balance as of today is $2,326,105. Plan expirations before the board with no action required. We have Chief Forsyth for his ESD report. Evening, Chief.
Good evening, everyone. I have presented the monthly report for the month of February to the board and the township manager. If you have the report in front of you, on page 1 is the total amount of calls of 97 to the different municipalities that we assisted. Page 2 is a breakdown of the 97 calls. We had 1 building fire, 57 medical calls, 3 hazardous conditions, 1 service call, 19 good intent calls, and 16 false alarms. The Fire Association responded to 25 calls for the month of February, and Emergency Services responded to 72. For the month of February, we completed 63 annual fire safety inspections in the township, and we completed 1 re-inspection in Newtown Borough. That is the February monthly report. I also submitted to the board a copy of the Bucks County Fire Study that the Bucks County Planning Commission did. If you ever have any questions or need any answers to anything that you might find in there that you would like to talk about, I'm always available for a phone call. It's very interesting reading, and I think it does help us explain and understand the situation that we're in the volunteer fire service. So we're trying to keep it moving, but unfortunately, we're not having a very good luck with recruiting volunteers, but we're still at it every day trying to see where we can recruit people from. So that's my monthly report for the month of February.
Any questions for the chief?
I had a question. I'm interested in those good intent and false alarm calls. It seems like 80% of the Newtown Fire Association calls were in those two categories. That seems pretty high.
It is high because the good intent calls could be alarm systems that are canceled prior to us responding. So that's why they're put in good intent. They're not actually a false alarm. Or it could be a careless cooking incident that it's not a false alarm, but it is what we consider and document as a good intent call. We have a great deal of careless cookings that activate alarm systems, and we classify them as a good intent call rather than a false alarm, because the alarm system is actually doing what it's made to do.
Well, there's only a few 25 calls, so statistically, I guess it's not really something you can pin your hat on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the chief? Seeing none, thank you, chief, for your report. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you, chief. Have a good night. Mr. Chairman, I have one more item under my agenda for the board's consideration. Please recall in the capital plan, we had allocated $20,000 out of the rec capital fund for the replacement of the backstop fencing on field 4 at Helen Randall Park. If you guys recall, we have been slowly and methodically working through those fences over at that field, replacing them on an annual schedule to update the park a little bit and bring the fencing into compliance with our insurance provider's recommendations. So we reached out and got 3 quotes, lowest being $16,100. So the appropriate motion for the board would be motion to approve the fence replacement at Helen Randall Park through Helm Fencing in the amount of $16,100.
May I have such a motion?
Moved.
May I have a second?
And a second.
The motion is second. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, I mean, you got 3 quotes. One was ridiculously twice as high as the others. And I haven't seen the backside of some of the other quotes, which mentions their details, but on the ridiculously high one, they mentioned things that all the posts would be in concrete. So are these just equivalent in terms of the quality of the work and so on?
Yeah, they're equivalent quotes and they'll be inspected and all that stuff by our public works director.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just a point. I did notice in the capital expenses, it was budgeted for 20,000. So this would be coming in under what was budgeted.
Any questions from the public on this motion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
That's all I have under my report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have another question for Mr. Lewis on the, in your report, you mentioned about the 2021 road program. Did you want to say something about that?
The road program, we've received the bids. I guess I'm asking for clarification what we're talking about.
Well, there was some problem with the roads on Mr. Fisher's neighborhood.
Okay, so we did receive a concern from the Newtown Sewer Authority about some of the work that was done over in Nob Hill in Devonshire. We have reached out to Warren Gormley, the director of the Sewer Authority, and asked him for clarification on what the issues are. As you recall, in the base bid of our contract for the road program, it contained most of those roads. Warren Gormley, Mr. Gormley has gotten back to us that the contractor has responded to their request for their response within the 7-day period, and they're currently evaluating where they're at with their contractor. Once we hear back from Mr. Gormley, we'll circle back with the board and we'll circle back with our engineer and come up with a formal recommendation for the road program, likely at next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Micah, just to clarify that this road debacle over there was not caused by anyone hired by the township, but by a contractor hired by the sewer authority.
That's correct. It was,
We're in essence cleaning up for lack of a better term, the sewer authority's mess. So
Yeah.
just wanted to clarify. I didn't want anybody to think that we were the one negligent in what happened.
right.
And I'm sure Mr. Fisher is aware of that because neighbors must be coming to him every day now. So, but we will fix it. We will fix it.
Very, very aware, and I get people confused about the township, Newtown Township, and the sewer authority all the time.
I hear you. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. We did pass that motion, right? And I think the question came afterwards, correct?
Yeah, that passed 5-0.
Okay. On to minutes, bills, lists, and reports. Mr. Mack. You're muted, John.
Sorry, was I on mute? One was the minutes of the regular Board of Supervisors meeting, March 10th. So I make a motion to approve those minutes. And I note there might have been some change, Mr. Lewis, in that.
Yes, there was one change to clarify a statement.
With that change, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the March 10th Board of Supervisors meeting.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions from the board on the minutes? From the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I think I need to abstain.
Abstain. Passes 4-0-1.
Okay, next I make a motion to approve the minutes of the March 15, 2021 Board of Supervisors work session.
Motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions from the board? From the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That one passes 5-0.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the payment of our bills according to the bills list dated March 24, 2021, totaling $310,063.97.
Okay, a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second on the bills list. Any questions from the board? From the public? Seeing none, I call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
Finally, I move that we make interfund transfers totaling $370,210.00 as per the bills list dated March 24, 2021.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions from the board? From the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 So passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Mack. We'll go on to our second session of public comment. Anyone who would like to make a comment, I will call Mr. Kameth. You've had your hand up. The floor is yours, sir.
First question to Mac. You said about taking facility from the school and giving them concessions on land development charges. Can you quantify that?
Well, I'm not in a position to quantify that. Mr. Lewis might be able to give you some answer to that.
Micah, you want to answer that question?
Well, typically when the township has rec programs at the school district facilities, the last year we had summer camps, the profits were in the $300,000 range.
Okay, but if the school comes back with the land development things with the money that they're getting, which is $500,000 to the township, Isn't that a loss?
It's typically not that high. And I would have to look back at each land development project to quantify that.
And, wouldn't you want to do that exercise? Because you could end up losing revenue. It might be cheaper to just pay them for the facilities.
Isn't it in lieu of Park and Rec? They donate that money that will be calculated to the township, which also any developer building in the township usually does that. So we've collect that money up front. So they are not doing anything that's not done by any other developer when they're adding on. I think the last time they added the pool, expanded the pool, and gave us funds in lieu of Park and Rec, and that's what that is. That's what that is all about.
Right.
Right, but with all the stimulus going on around and, a lot of money coming to the school districts, they're going to think of ways to spend that money.
Well,
One of them is land development. So
we
if you
can't-
look at the
we can't-
fees,
we just can't collect fees unless they're doing something. It's not like we go back to them and said, hey, we want some money in lieu of because you built something 5 years ago. I mean,
I'm saying as
we
someone
don't have a right
looked
to
at,
collect money off of the school district that we haven't, that isn't due to us. So whether they're getting a stimulus or not, my concern is why aren't they giving us more services for the people of this township? And I understand that Mr. Mack came back and said they need somebody there. Well, how about paying a nice young person, $10 an hour to sit there and monitor things, whether it's the weight room, the pool, other things like that is what they should be giving back to the township, not having to worry about giving us their stimulus money, which, geez, why don't we just go collect stimulus money from every other school district in the county? So I don't know what your question is and why that question.
my
was
question
posed.
is if
And-
we are
and this is-
paying
let
them,
me just get further here. This is
Mhm.
public comment. If you want to make a comment, that's fine, but we're not here to have questions and answers in public comment.
it's not a question and answer. I'm saying if the school district is charging you for the facilities that are part of the school district and then asking you for a concession on land development fees and stuff like that, someone has to quantify the numbers. If it's what could have cost you $10, they could be taking back $500. So you don't know. You haven't quantified it.
People should go to the school board meetings and ask those questions. They're the ones raising the majority of your taxes. So that's a good point.
So I'm just raising that point. You have to quantify it first.
Okay.
Don't you think that's a fair question? The second part of my question is,
Well, you
we
didn't have-
give,
this wasn't question answering. you
yeah,
answered
the second,
question.
I don't think there's anybody else in the thing. So the second question is, we gave a set of suggestions and questions way back in December. We are still patiently waiting for the responses.
All right, thank you.
And, can we get an idea now that 3 months have passed, when that, when those questions will be answered? Max said, he needed some time over those questions. There were details, etc. But the whole quarter, and we haven't heard back.
Okay.
I think you should
Mhm.
talk to the finance committee, which is going to be discussing probably a lot of the issues you raised in those questions.
When is the next meeting of the finance committee? Dennis, do you know?
Fourth Tuesday of April.
Okay.
Okay, but what about the HR policies part of it?
Anything else? I have someone else that has public comment.
I don't think there's anybody else other than me.
Yes. No, there is.
There is, okay.
There,
Mr. DeApril, anything to say?
Yes, I'm here now. You hear me? Okay. Okay. Your one supervisor likes to use social media. I mean, he's all over it now, and I have a big problem with him disparaging members of different committees that, they're volunteers. And he's going to disparage him, saying they're giving out variances like candy on Halloween. Now, that's not a thing a supervisor should be saying about, a volunteer committee. I even get reports about his personal stuff on social media, which, that's his personal thing. But when he's kind of like using double meaning stuff that's obscene. And, they come to me with it. And, these people like to come to me because they know I talk. And I'm not afraid to get up and talk. Evidently, most people in township don't want to get up and talk. They'll complain, and they might go on social media, and maybe not. But it's really conduct unbecoming a supervisor, and it's just not right. And a lot of people look up to him. They think he knows stuff. They didn't know he slept for 20 years when he just, before he got involved in township business. And like I said, conduct unbecoming a supervisor. That's all I got to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Okay. I don't see anyone else for public comment tonight. We'll move on to old business. Anyone have any old? I think, Dennis, you may have old business, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Unmuted and muted myself back. Yes, we have a couple of appointments to put before the board tonight. One is for John DeApril, who was just speaking to us for the Veterans Committee. And I think he would make the fifth member of that committee. And then Daniel Williams for the Technology and Communication Committee. And that would give them the fourth member. And John referred to that situation a little earlier in the meeting, Mr. Mack did. So I put before you John DeApril for the Veterans Committee and Daniel Williams for the Technology and Communications Committee. And I don't know, I think the last time around, Mr. Calabro, we did one at a time.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, let's do Mr. DeApril first. Do I have a motion for Mr. DeApril, Veterans Committee?
Yeah, I'll motion to approve that.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public on this motion? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes 4-0. Congratulations, John. Thanks for your service.
Thank you, John. And then Daniel Williams for Technology and Communication.
Okay, Mr. Williams, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions from the board on this appointment? From the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 4-0. You're on mute again, Dennis. You put yourself on mute.
I'm playing with my space bar here. I'm sorry about that. And Mr. Lewis, you will get a letter out to him fairly quickly so he can attend the meeting on the 30th if that's taking place.
Yeah, also the Veterans Committee meeting is tomorrow night. And then I already communicated with Mr. DeApril, hoping for his approval. So he's made aware of tomorrow's meeting.
Fantastic.
Now, getting back to the, I'm sorry, the committee that has 4 members, Dennis,
Yes.
which is at the Technology Committee.
Yeah, 4 out of 7.
Now, 4 is the quorum, but just to reiterate that if for some reason 3 show up and not 4, they still can conduct a meeting, just that they cannot vote on anything. So I don't want anyone to say if 3 showed up and start hollering that only 3 came here and blah, blah, blah. Well, they still can conduct a meeting. They just can't vote anything because it's not a quorum, and they could table anything that they've discussed to their next meeting when they have a quorum. So I just don't want people to stop from coming to a meeting if they think they're not going to have a quorum. So just wanted to clarify that.
Great.
Anybody else have any old business?
I just wanted to real quickly list for folks who might be interested, the committees that still have openings.
Okay.
So we have one opening on the Joint Historic Commission. So I think that's a committee, that's a representative from the township. I think it's a township and borough committee. Joint Historic Commission has one. The Historic Architectural Review Board has one vacancy. The Environmental Advisory Council, I'm a little confused. One person just resigned. I think that makes it, I think we had one vacancy before and that makes it two. Technology and Communication, we have 4 out of 7, so we have 3 vacancies in the Technology and Communications. We have 1 vacancy in the Finance Committee, 2 vacancies in the Veterans Committee, and I think there's 2, I'm pretty sure, because I think there's 9 seats and 7 people on the Economic Development Committee. Mr. Oxley, you can tell me if I got it wrong. There's 2 vacancies in the Economic Development Committee.
There are.
So that's my report.
Okay. Mr. Lewis, can these openings be put on the website and the television channel so people can look in on them? Or
Yeah, we can put an ad out there.
all right, great.
Mr. Fisher, can I ask you to do me a favor? Just shoot me the email of the names you just read and we'll put that together.
I will do that.
Appreciate it.
Okay, super. Anyone else have any old business? Okay, any new business? Yeah, we have no need for an executive session tonight, Mr. Sander?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I guess I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, and without discussion, we are adjourned for the evening. Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Great night.
Have a good one.
Thanks, guys. Good night. Be
Take
well.
care.
Yeah.